Uncle Ben came home that evening with a printed paper in his hand and a huge smile on his face. "Esther," he called out, waving the result slip. Esther came running. "Is that my result?" "Yes," he said, handing it to her. "You passed. You did really well." Esther screamed with joy and hugged him tightly. "Thank you, Uncle. Thank you so much." "What course did you choose again?" he asked, even though he already knew. "Law," she said proudly. "I want to be a lawyer." "Then a lawyer you shall be," he replied with a warm smile. "We'll start your university admission process right away." Without wasting time, Uncle Ben made sure her admission was processed. He paid all the fees and bought her textbooks, clothes, and even a new school bag. The university she got into was not far from their house, and it made things easier. Though most students stayed on campus or rented hostels nearby, Uncle Ben decided that Esther would stay at home. "You're safer here," he said. "You'll have peace, and you can focus better." Every morning, Esther dressed neatly in jeans and a top, packed her books, and Uncle Ben's driver dropped her off at school. After lectures, she returned home, did her assignments, and sometimes cooked dinner with the housemaid's help. She made new friends at school but always remembered where she came from. She stayed humble, focused, and determined. Even though law was a tough course, Esther found it exciting. She loved reading about justice, human rights, and court cases. She dreamed of wearing the black robe and standing in a courtroom, defending the weak. Uncle Ben always checked on her, asked about her classes, and reminded her to rest. He was proud of how far she had come, and even more proud of the woman she was becoming. Esther's journey had just begun, but her heart was already set on greatness. Years passed like pages turning in a book. Esther was no longer the shy village girl who once looked in awe at the tall buildings of Abuja. She was now a confident young woman, strong, intelligent, and determined. Her years at the university were filled with hard work, sleepless nights, and moments of victory. She had faced tough exams, strict lecturers, and long days at the library, but she never gave up. She stayed focused, always remembering where she came from and why she was doing it. Every break or holiday, Esther traveled back to the village to visit her mother. She would bring bags of rice, oil, soap, clothes, and sometimes a little money from the allowance Uncle Ben gave her. Each time her mother saw her, she cried tears of joy. "My Esther, look at you," she would say, touching her cheeks lovingly. "You've made me proud." Your father would be smiling down from heaven. Esther would hug her and reply, "It's because of you, Mama. Your sacrifices are the reason I'm here today." Everything seemed to be going well. Esther was almost done with her studies. She had just a few months left to graduate. Uncle Ben, too, was proud of her. He told his friends and coworkers about her achievements and how she would soon become a lawyer. But then, something unexpected happened. One evening, after a long day at work, Uncle Ben decided to hang out with some of his old friends. They met at a popular lounge in the city, where music played softly in the background and laughter filled the air. It was supposed to be a light evening, just a few drinks, some pepper soup, and happy conversation. But as the hours passed, Uncle Ben kept drinking. His friends' jokes, and the drinks kept coming. He laughed louder, talked faster, and began to lose control of himself. He didn't realize how much he had taken in. By the time he got up to leave, his steps were unsteady. The room spun in circles, and his head felt heavy and was under the influence of the drinks he had taken. That night, everything felt normal until it wasn't. Uncle Ben's car pulled into the compound a little past 10 p.m. Esther, who had been reading in the sitting room with her book spread across the small table, looked up when she heard the sound. She didn't think much of it. He often came home late when he had meetings or hung out with friends. But as soon as Uncle Ben walked in, she could tell something was different. His steps were heavy. His shirt was untucked. His breath smelled strongly of alcohol, and his eyes looked tired, but also strange. "Good evening, Uncle," Esther said softly, trying to hide her worry. "You're back." He nodded but didn't say much. Instead, he dropped his keys on the table and stared at her for a moment, too long. Esther felt uncomfortable. She looked down at her books and started gathering them. "I was just reading for my exams," she said, standing up. "Let me go to my room." But suddenly, everything changed. He stepped forward, blocking her way. His eyes were clouded, and his voice sounded nothing like the man she had always known and respected. "Esther, you're such a beautiful girl," he said slowly, his words slurred. Her heart began to pound. "Uncle, please," she said, backing away. "You're drunk. You need to rest." But he didn't listen. What followed was something Esther never thought could happen, not from him. He was her helper, her protector, her family. But in that moment, under the weight of too much alcohol and a darkness she didn't understand, Uncle Ben forced her into something terrible, something painful, something that broke her. She fought back. She cried. She begged. But her voice was too small. When it was over, she lay on the cold floor, shaking. Tears ran down her face, and her body felt numb. Uncle Ben had passed out on the couch, unaware of the damage he had caused. The room was silent, but inside her heart, there was a scream. A deep, silent scream that couldn't find its way out. She pulled herself up, wrapped a shawl around her, and stumbled into her room. She locked the door and sat on the floor, hugging her knees, shaking and broken. Nothing made sense anymore. The one person she trusted most in the city had just destroyed a part of her that could never be replaced. And as the night stretched on, with only the sound of a ticking clock and the hum of the air conditioner, Esther cried, quietly. She didn't sleep that night. She couldn't. Everything had changed. And her story was about to take a new, painful turn. So one night, Esther made a decision. She packed a small bag, just a few clothes and the little money she had saved from her allowance. She didn't leave a note. She didn't say goodbye. She just slipped out through the back gate and walked into the night, with only fear and pain by her side. She didn't know where she was going. She just knew she had to leave. For days, Esther wandered the streets, sleeping at parks and bus stops, eating only when someone gave her food. It was hard. People stared at her. Some laughed. Some were kind. But most just walked past. After escaping from the harsh treatment by her uncle, Esther made way for herself by meeting with some street girls who would do anything for money, some make out with different men in a night just to get paid. Esther had no choice than to go with the flow because her life wasn't given any meaning and this was not her plan. Esther didn't think about the past anymore. She had learned to push it far, far away, like an old book she didn't want to open. The memories of Uncle Ben, the shame, the tears, the fear, they were locked in a deep box in her heart. She had buried them beneath layers of makeup, perfume, and flashy clothes. On the outside, she was full of life. Her hair was always done. Her lips are always shining. She wore short dresses, heels that clicked on the pavement, and bright laughter that made people turn their heads when she walked past. She had her own customers now, rich men who called her privately, bought her gifts, took her out in big cars. She even got a small apartment of her own. No more sleeping under bridges. No more begging for food. She had become one of the top girls in the circle. Some nights, she would laugh so hard at the bar with the other girls, you'd never believe she once cried herself to sleep. Money came easily now. Life felt sweet. She ate what she wanted. She bought nice things. She even helped a few new girls who were just starting out. The old Esther, the one who used to dream of being a lawyer, felt like a shadow from another world. Until the day everything changed. She lost weight, fast. Her cheeks sank in. Her skin lost its glow. She tried to cover it with makeup, but nothing could hide the tired look in her eyes. One morning, she woke up and saw red stains on her pillow. She had coughed through the night without even knowing. At first, she ignored it. She thought it was malaria. Or typhoid. She bought drugs from the chemist. Took bitter herbs. But it didn't stop. One of the older girls told her, "You need to see a doctor. It could be something bad." Finally, she went to the hospital. She sat quietly as the nurse took her blood and ran the test. Hours later, when the doctor came in, he didn't smile. The doctor's voice was calm but heavy. "You've tested positive for a chronic illness. It's advanced, and it's not curable." She couldn't hear properly after that. It was like the world went silent. She stared at the doctor's lips moving, but her ears were buzzing. Her mind screamed, "No. No. No." When she left the hospital, she didn't go home. She walked for hours. Just walked. Through dusty roads, through markets, across bridges. People passed her by, but she didn't see them. Her head felt like it was full of fire and ice at the same time. Suddenly, all the years of running, all the nights of pain and pretending, all the broken pieces inside her began to rise to the surface. She dropped to her knees on the pavement and cried, loud, hard, broken cries. Life wasn't sweet anymore. The party was over. She had danced too close to the fire, and now she was burning. The disease became her shadow. It followed her everywhere. The other girls began to notice. The customers stopped calling. She was no longer the star girl. When Esther realized the truth, that her days were numbered, she knew she had to go back. Back to the only person who had ever truly loved her. Her mother. The woman who sacrificed everything so she could go to school. The woman who sold food by the roadside under the hot sun and borrowed from the village cooperative just to keep her daughter's dreams alive. She packed a small bag. Not many things were left. Her once beautiful clothes now hung loosely on her body. Her eyes, once bright and curious, were now quiet and tired. She bought a bus ticket and began the long journey back to Delta State. The roads were dusty and rough, but Esther hardly noticed. She stared out the window the entire ride, tears falling silently. She wasn't sure if her mother would forgive her. She wasn't sure if she even deserved it. When she arrived in the village, children playing nearby ran to tell Mama Esther, "Your daughter is back. She's at the park." Esther stood at the edge of the small market square, trembling. Then her mother came running. The moment their eyes met, time stopped. They held each other tightly, crying as the sun went down behind them. That night, after a warm bath and a small meal, Esther sat with her mother on the old wooden bench outside their home. The stars were out. The night was quiet. And then she told her everything. She told her about Uncle Ben, about the pain, the betrayal. She told her about the streets, the lies she lived, the things she did to survive. She told her about the disease, the hospital, the truth that she didn't have much time left. Her mother sat in silence, her hands shaking, her heart breaking. Tears poured down her cheeks as she listened. Her mother didn't say much. She just rocked her gently, humming an old lullaby from when Esther was little. The next morning, Esther woke early. She went behind the house, sat under the mango tree, and wrote a letter, just a short one, saying how sorry she was, and how thankful she was for her mother's love. Then she drank a bottle she had hidden in her bag the night before. It was bitter. And quiet. And cold. When her mother found her lying there, still, peaceful, with her head resting on the roots of the tree, she screamed. She shook her. Called her name. But Esther never woke up. The whole village came running. The woman cried. The children were confused. The elders shook their heads. They buried Esther 3 days later, under the same mango tree. Her mother placed her photo by the grave, along with her schoolbooks and a black piece of cloth that looked like a lawyer's robe. A symbol of what could have been. And every evening, Mama Esther would sit by the tree, watching the sun go down, whispering her daughter's name with tears in her eyes. The story of Esther became a warning and a memory. A memory of a brilliant girl who carried too much pain. A flower that bloomed too early and was gone too soon. Thanks for watching my video, and I hope you learned a vital lesson from this video. Please like this video, drop your opinion in the comments below and subscribe to support my channel. Stay safe and see you in my next video.